So welcome to another exploration in the consciousness with the Earth Nebo Hub. And today's topic is right time and right place. Now, what I was thinking, to put a little context, and then we take it from there. I was thinking that, as we all know, we are interpreting our experiences and we are creating in the field, in the context of consciousness. And this is really the soul's playground. Consciousness is the soul's playground, where it can have a physical form and use time and space to create within. Doesn't mean that the physical creation is purely, in the physical realm. Obviously, the soul creates within all the other dimensions, interdimensionally, but the manifestation obviously comes through the physical, through the time and space, right time, right place, right space. Now, we also know that before the soul comes into form, into body, it plans life and lifetimes ahead of its journey. And some people, they call this the destiny, the soul's destiny or something like that. And it's basically, where the soul contracts out certain missions, certain projects, certain people, it contributes to, gets a contribution from, and things like that. Now, that doesn't mean that any of that is set in stone. Everything is open. There are infinite possibilities that are being planned by the soul that can be played out, that can be chosen. And every choice that is being made in this particular moment, in this lifetime, impacts obviously the future lifetimes and the past lifetimes. This is obviously the healing we're always talking about. So the right place, right time concept or question or topic came up because we were talking about how do those soul impulses get communicated to us. And of course, one of the things is the déjà vus and the synchronicities and everything like that, right? And today I was thinking, we could explore this a bit further. So from that conceptual understanding, how can we be more aware of those impulses that the soul is putting forward to us, And how can we be more consciously aware of it? We so often acknowledge things like, oh, we can feel it, or we can, breathe it or whatever. But how can we become more conscious of it so that we can actually no longer just be at the receiving end at the soul's mercy, but actually saying, hey, I want more of that, and co-create with the soul on a much more conscious level.
I mean, for me, it starts with listening every day, right? Just sitting with myself and listening to the information that's coming through, whether it be from my own soul or from Mother Earth or, from my oversoul, right? Next level up. But, I think the more that we take time, and there is something to that daily practice where you're sitting and maybe like same time every day, right? Where you're getting in a habit of just being quiet and listening. Because then the information, you're training your body at that time for the information to actually come through. So I think that's helpful.
You're using the word listening rather than meditating.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I quite like that. What is the difference between listening and meditating for you?
For me, listening is, listening to my own voice, listening to the voices of the world around me, right? Whether it be the sun or the earth or the squirrel in the tree out there. What I like to do is start by just listening to my breath or my heartbeat, and then listening to the room, and then listening to the house, and listening to the block, and then the city, and then the state, right? And then the world, right? So when you listen sort of like that, it's like you're not requesting anything, right? It feels like, well, for me, it feels like I'm just connecting, right, to the essence
Yeah.
of life. And when you can quiet your own monkey mind, which is, of course, I've been doing this for many years. So to me, I read something in a book many years ago called The Meditator's Manual. And it said the mind is like a muddy river, right? When you're swimming in that river and you're up to your neck in your thoughts, you can't see what's going on around you, but you visualize yourself getting on a bridge above the river, and then you can see the thoughts that are going by, right? Okay, no, I don't need to worry about, taking the trash out right now. I don't need to worry about unloading the dishwasher or making food. I'm just going to be quiet and listen, right? So when you make a note, oh, okay, dishwasher, check. Okay, later, and just say, okay, acknowledge you thought, and then put it out of your way, right, for later. And then allow what's coming in next.
Beautiful.
For me, like meditating is more of a directed intention for me. Like if I want to manifest something, then it's more like a request, right? Well, I guess you could say prayer is like that too.
Prayer,
right? Where you're requesting energy to come back to you in some way, as opposed to just being with the one, the oneness and the flow of energy.
I really like that, because I think so many people are still hung up about meditating, because there's so much pressure on how to meditate, especially transcendental meditation, where you're not supposed to think anything, and it's so difficult to do that. And I've never called myself a meditator, because I could never do that. And in the beginning, it was highly frustrating for me, and I'm doing this wrong, until I had to acknowledge that I don't work that way. For me, meditation is more the listening part, where you're actually doing almost the opposite, but you're not. Because what you're doing is you're being so significantly present with what is around you, connecting with everything, so that you automatically kick out the program of the monkey mind, right? To a certain extent. You don't even have time. If you listen to the birds, really listen to the birds, there is no such thing as, coming in, oh, you're doing this wrong, or you're doing this right, or you should be doing something else. What do you guys think? What comes up for you with that kind of stuff?
I would add word recognize, not even just listen, recognize, remember. We never disconnected, ever. We are connected all the time, and we were connected all the time. It's only our rules that we agree to from period of time to next period of time, on big scale, even like universal time, not just one life, but some amount of lives. This is what we do now, and we make us believe that something working this way. Then we change direction, then we make us believe that now we are working this way. So it's more of remembering and listening. Yes, I love it very much. Listen to vibes of universe, of direction. This is what gives us that needed vibration of joy. You see, without joy, there is no creation. Mover for creation, it's a joy, your excitement, your passion, all that stuff. And meditators today, if you look, they are almost all of them serious people. And they are so doing precisely step by step. This is how it's supposed to be. We don't live in that world today. It's my vision. Completely different world out there. So yes, meditation, remembering, recognizing, and being in joy. And the more I was giving and still giving my workshops, the more I start to look into this connection between joy as proper energy for creation, that is remembering, that is in touch with your knowing, with your intuition, to be in proper time, proper place. Yeah, right time, right place. The more I see connection to, I found scientific proof there is a connection to that part of our psyche. It's not exactly spirit like we understand soul. It's a part of our psyche, actually, inner child. This is huge role in being in touch with receiving feedback on where do I move, what do I do, and all that thing. Of course, personality, yes, but connection to our plans, actually, this is from where it's coming, from your inner child. And in traditional psychology, that part of our psyche misunderstood completely. It seemed like something weird and something demanding and something, no, not at all. First of all, child, it's a neutral part. It's a bridge. For me, this is how I see it. It's a bridge between higher dimensional expanded us and who we are today as human beings, that we agreed to have this experience as human beings, that doing this, only what human does, yeah? But when child in original state, when, like I would say like this, when we bring our child, that part of our psyche, into original state, that is joy. Look at child, it's a joy. Even physical child, that's a joy. When we bring child, our inner child, into that state with some kind of work that is very close to revocations, very close that work to revocations, then your child giving us, it's vibrating in that original state, original vibration inside of us, that we have access to higher you. Then, of course, you are in touch with your intuition, with being in synchronicities, all that stuff. Yeah, and I can even give assignment to my people to, when they work to bring that intuition into their life, work with an inner child. First of all, to look in what condition your inner child inside of you. If it is not in that joy, or it's not enough of joy, or it's even depressed, you need to work on that. Why it's what happened in your life, this one or any other life, that your child not in that joy, not in that bliss, you know?
Well,
Then,
and this is like spiritual work 101, right? Where we're getting back down to those basics. And I think, well, I know for myself, I'm working with a lot of people who are in that state where the inner child, the young them, right, comes in with all of these, right, visions of what they want their reality to be, right? Okay, so they're incarnating at the right time in the right place, but then they get shut down. Like it's almost like, oh, okay, we're going to shut you down a little by trying to get you to behave this way, right? And it's the parents, and then they go to school, and it's the teachers that, sort of try to streamline that little one into the global narrative way of thinking, right?
yeah,
Whatever that bubble of reality is, right, that person is incarnated into. And it's really fascinating for me. I live across the street from a school, so every day I see, grade school up to 8. I think it's kindergarten through 8. It's a charter school, and I mean, it's not in season right now. They're out for the summer, but I see all different types of ages, right, coming across and then playing in the schoolyard across the street from my house. So, and with the clients, I see them coming in with like the wounded 3-year-old them who feels abandoned because their parent had another child at that age, right? The 6-year-old who feels unworthy of owning power because the teacher said, oh, you can't do things that way, right? And it's just like, it can be just one little word that shuts that little being down. So I agree, Irina, I think it's a really important part of being able to listen to your truth as an adult, because if that young you isn't happy and joyful, if that young you is holding an energetic program, then you're going to be able to not hear through that. It's almost like that's what comes to the front, and then the behavior is adjusted by that program as well as the adult.
It's very much what you guys say. It's like joy is a byproduct. It's actually, joy is an innate state of being that can be liberated once we start stepping out of all the confinement, and we start asking questions and don't necessarily just accept everything that is being presented to us as the truth, absolutely. That also leads us back to you guys were talking about the innocence, back to the innocence and the vulnerability. Innocence is always coupled with vulnerability.
In adult world, innocence coupled with vulnerability. In child world, not. It's not. I was working on that as well to understand. And when that's why psychology, traditional psychology, misunderstands that part. It's looking with adult eyes on child, and it's completely different world. Child, to some point, when it's still in innocence, it doesn't take the same way like adult take all this, our experiences that are already in duality, good and bad.
Yeah.
Child stays in innocence, it's completely different reaction. It's coming with age. Then that explanation and societal demand see that way. Sometimes I had this situation, a man in his 30s didn't connect at all, zero connection in mind that drugs and drinking, it's a bad thing. That person was just seeing it's just joy, it's just celebration, it's like fooling around, all that stuff, until someone told that guy in his 30s, and then he immediately started to drop down. First of all, of course, he went through all healing, all AA meetings, all that thing, and he quit doing that. But trauma was made by that person explaining the way it was explained. That guy couldn't enjoy life anymore. It was just gone from his life. So innocence, it's quality of that neutrality. But we are lucky to have innocence, like scientifically, to age of 8. Then it's kind of like scientifically, you're not that anymore.
Well, then it goes full cycle, right? It's like the innocence you had as a child, you learn things that make you not innocent anymore. So I think that adult place, you're kind of coming full circle where you've gone through all the hoops and the hurdles and understand the value of that innocence, right? So then it is coupled with vulnerability, because you know how hard it took you to get from childhood innocence going all the way full circle back to the appreciation from the adult perspective.
Exactly. But if you connect at that point, going through all hoops and everything, to your inner child, in a way, restore that bliss and innocence of your inner child, then you can actually be very powerful in your vulnerability, in your innocence. And this is what we want. This is what will work and bring you through all troubles of other people still trying to work as societal opinion, societal direction to pull you into societal structure.
You know, vulnerability is one of those values which requires a little bit more not more definition, but more exploration, because you can look at vulnerability from many, many different angles. When I refer to vulnerability with a child, it's that openness to just cry when you feel like it. That openness to go for, hey, I need a hug, mom, dad, whatever, you know, that kind of thing. And we have lost that. Oh, of course, we lose that, you know, and that's the vulnerability that we need to get back to allow ourselves to be wrong, to allow ourselves, even if it's the wrongness of the collective or whatever, you know, and just allow ourselves to actually ask for what our bodies, our minds, our souls are requiring. You know, and this is that vulnerability that I sort of connect to innocence. To innocently, you know, you just blurt out stuff and you don't worry about whatever somebody says. Or you say, hey, I want this and I want this now, you know, that kind of thing. And as an adult, I can't say this, and this is not the right setting, and this is not the right context, and this and that, you know. But what I like really, Irina, you just, the example that you've given was very much the right time, the right place, right space, when this person was given that information that alcohol or whatever is not good, and he actually took it on board. Because how many times has somebody said that to him and he didn't hear it? So
no one, yes, exactly. And you would think like 20 years or 15 years consuming all that, it should destroy your body, like physical health. It didn't. That person was totally healthy, completely, everything working perfectly. This
because
is
he was using it with a good sense, because he was using it in the good way, in a sense, because it didn't hurt him because he was happy with it. So how, you know, how could it then? I mean, my grandmother was 92 when she died, and she was drinking alcohol every day, and she was happy. So, you know, and she was healthy like a fiddle. No, but you know, this is where we go. What mindset do you use it? You know, he didn't use it as a drug. He was having fun with it because it helped him to be, you know, was just his thing. Innocently.
Innocent is bliss at times, you know.
Yes.
Also, there are so many, and this is what takes us back to the soul imprint, you know, because every soul comes with a different imprint. Every soul comes with a different set of allowances and capacities of dealing with alcohol, with drugs, with other stuff. You know, the one person takes one pill and out she goes, and the other one does it for half of his life, and there's no issue with that. There's just one thing I want to mention with this, and this is quite interesting with right time, right place as well. It's like, I had this conversation with a friend yesterday, and also I had my a very good friend of mine. She died tomorrow 2 years ago, and her mind was so strong. She had such a strong mind that by the time when she died, she was riddled with cancer in every single cell you can think of. And she refused to take painkillers. She was not on morphine. She never had painkillers because she was so convinced that she was going to get through this. And you know what? I still haven't figured out the pattern there. But the one thing I've started to realize now is that our minds can be so strong to overwrite the body's requirements and the body's needs. Because obviously, if the body dies of cancer, there was something that was neglected, that she didn't see, that she didn't listen to, because her mind was so strong. And it was so positive, and you couldn't say anything to her because the positivity was just beyond anything of. But it was not.
Can I say?
Yes.
Can I say, you were talking, I couldn't resist just to look what pattern is that. I see that pattern so often. It is not from human experience connections. It is from subtle experiences, connection when we have that pattern formation that is connected not to physical body. We form beliefs that are connected to our subtle existence. And she was not actually even experiencing that on earth. She was in that her state of subtle world, but having through human body. So she never landed understanding and causes of that disease with human and in human experience. She was still there trying to work with this, but for us in subtle world, it doesn't matter what physical body experiencing. And she had her existence in subtle world that was most important for her than physical intuition and physical actions. That's what I saw. By the way, thank you, Tanya, for connecting to soul, and Martina connecting to soul. That person, that one with drugs and alcohol, he was so young, so young. His soul age was measured by minutes. This is how he young was. So he never had this experience of soul to struggle from drug or alcohol. He doesn't even know on that level what is that. And for soul, it was so interesting because it's shifting you. And soul had fun. And this is how it was with that person for 15 years, just fun. That's why physical body wasn't even impact at all.
And that is so true, because this is why we cannot make a judgment or with any of the people's choices, because from a soul perspective and the long-term agenda for the soul's development, that's exactly what that person probably needed. And it's the same for my friend. But I like what you said. That makes a lot of sense. Having said that, there was such a what's the word? It was so confusing because she did all the right things. She was grounding, she was drinking the right water, she was eating healthy, she was walking with her dog, she was doing all of that, where you would say, no, you are in your body, you are grounded, but obviously she was not.
No. But it could be too that her situation playing out like that was her right time and her right place, that's what she needed for whatever resolution in that lifetime. We just don't understand it. Yes. But it's a reminder not to judge anybody else for their past. She may very well have been listening to her soul. It just, we don't want to not be on this earth with them. And so it's hard sometimes to process that.
Absolutely.
You're using, I mean, Tanya used the word listening, and now you're also using listening. I tried over the years with the listening. I tried over the years with the meditation. I tried over the years.
You get muffled, darling. Something gets muffled.
I tried to see the big things, in meditation, or everything that I read about meditation. Really, what I came up is that I don't call it listening or meditating anymore. I call it digesting.
We didn't get that. Something is with your what do you call it?
Wait, just a second.
I keep fading out.
Yeah, it sounds like you have like a limiting buffer on your sound. So if you go into audio settings, there might be
It's that, and I think, as onlookers, whilst you're sorting yourself out, as onlookers, I think, as you say, Jen, it's the most difficult thing to observe and hold that space, and look at the choices people make, and really say, hey, I don't understand everything, why those choices, why she has to move on that way, or, you know, and why they have to do what they do, and just maintain that curiosity, that healthy curiosity, you know. Yeah.
And not every word works for everybody. You know, listening, you know, I don't think of with my ears. It can be an animal sitting in front of me that's unusual, or a shadow passing on the wall that gets me to look over something. Maybe acknowledging is more of a word that people need to use. I think that Sandrina, she hasn't fixed her sound, said digesting, but maybe she's fixed her sound now.
Maybe it should be working right now.
Yeah. So what was your word you wanted to throw in, Sandrine?
Digestion.
Digesting. Oh, digesting. Yeah.
As
Okay.
I'm this person who takes up a lot of knowledge, and I process a lot of knowledge, I found out that if I go into digesting mode, meaning that I do something completely different, or I don't do anything, I just lie there, or just sit there, or I just breathe, and then I let things just happen inside of me. So my brain goes wherever it needs to go, and I'm just letting everything settle in and digest. I'm not really listening then to anything. It's just that my body is, and all that knowledge and all that wisdom or anything that I just incorporated needs to be digested through my body. Is it my mind? Is it my soul? I have no idea, but this is how I've come to think about it, and also how I feel that if I'm in a mode of where I take in a lot of information and new things, I know that I have to stop for a while, for 1 or 2 days, and just do completely different things, and not even listen to anything, and even, you know, consume junk, whatever, on, you know, YouTube videos or Netflix or whatever, just to let it process, you know, so I don't need to think further on it. So for me, it's the digesting that really came up with all this.
Yeah. Sorry guys, I have to go. That's Irina. She's out of here. Okay, Irina, darling. We see you
Have a
next
good day.
Thanks for popping in. Yeah, and I might even want to add the elimination after that as well, a complete letting it go, you know, because once we, and this is again, that's an education, it's an understanding that whatever data, whatever knowledge we are receiving and consuming and digesting is available to us at any moment as light memory. And the light memory doesn't have to be stored in our body. And it's quite interesting. I did a course many years ago, and it was about weight loss. And it was very much along those lines, you know, appreciating the fact that information that you are consuming can actually add weight to your body if it's not digested and eliminated, you know. And of course, we know all that because, you know, we don't only consume, you know, facts and figures and interesting information that make us happy and joyful, but we're also taking in all the crap. And that actually then starts creating all the congestion within ourselves, you know, within our nervous system, within our, you know, wax, the way, it's not the V is not my thing, the vagus nerve out, you know, and things like that. Absolutely. Yeah. So when is the right time and the right place to actually stop certain things? And of course, I can come in with my experience at the moment because my body has always had issues with the gut. Gut has always been from a very, very young age onwards, you know, because at that time of innocence, which I can't remember because of the walk-in, I can't really remember my very early stages before pre-teen, but I do know that I was always confused. And the confusion came from a place of, what is it that you guys are doing that makes no sense? I don't understand what you guys are doing. Why is it such a hardship? Why are we all fighting? You know, there was always that. And that can only, sort of question and confusion can only come from a place of innocence and a place of space and observation that doesn't make sense to somebody who is just space and gets thrown into a biological family that plays out all this contrast on such a huge level. And then, of course, you know, if there is no teacher at the time that can explain to you, don't take it on, that space, that empty body gets just, everything comes in and you just take it on, take it on, take it on. And then at some stage you make it yours because you no longer know what is mine, what is theirs, what is right, what is wrong, what is this, what is that. And this is where choice goes out the bloody window. Mm-hmm. Once you are so congested, and, you know, that digestion doesn't work anymore because of the overload and everything. And antibiotics certainly do not help with that, you know. So it's been a long, long journey to let this all go. And having said all that, over the years, always kept coming back. Okay, tummy, bloated, this, that, what is it? And it's only been, the right time and the right place was only this year. I mean, I've done loads and loads and loads and loads of different things. Yeah, I've done little diets there. I've looked at IBS, done all of that. But the real time and place was only a couple of weeks ago when I decided to do that detox together with lymphatic drainage for a whole month and really listen, allow myself to be coached, you know, instead of saying, Anna, it's okay, body, what do you want to do? Because body was no longer, when it came to that, body was confused, always giving me the wrong thing. It's okay, you can have this, you can have this, you can have this. And I was like, okay, listen to your body. There is a time when you got to listen to your body, and there's a time when you say, oh yeah, okay, now shut up. Now I'm going to tell you what we're going to do. And it's been interesting because the first couple of days were super, super intense, and almost like that sense of aggressiveness. And I said to the guys, I said, my body is fighting this. It doesn't want this. And I had to be nurturing and compassionate with my own body and saying, it's okay, you don't have to worry. You know, it actually thought it's gonna, it was, no, I'm not saying it was dying. I was like, oh, this is too much. I can't handle that, right? Because it's so unfamiliar in so many ways what I'm doing at the moment. But anyway, so this was the right time and place. But the actual thing here is there is so much joy behind doing this for me. I feel so calm doing this, having gone after the first 3 days, you know, where I thought I need to go to the hospital because I've got God knows what. It's easy. I would say there is so much ease doing it. There's no discussion. I stopped coffee, I stopped this, just like that. And I had people over, we had barbecues, and I was, you know, was spicing the meat and serving the drinks, and absolutely fine. And that is when there's the right place and the right time. And you guys, I'm sure, have had these experiences as well, right?
I was muted. Yeah, it's an interesting journey, right? I think about like what you're doing for your physical body and how it was time for you to do that, you know, and just thinking, listening to you talk about that space as a child, right? Where you had always had the gut issues. So how much energy and how much information were you taking in? You know, I see the way people take other people's energy into the solar plexus area. Well, what is that? The stomach, right? The stomach, the liver, the gallbladder. See how much of that energy was even yours as a child.
Absolutely. And then you got to expand it. You know, it's not just what you're taking in. It's not just a quarrel that you witness in the physical realm. It's obviously the awareness that we must acknowledge in all the other interdimensional realms. you know,
Definitely. Well,
because
there's so much that goes on with our energy field that we don't even have an understanding of.
exactly.
That all of the layers of the body and the aura and nervous system and the functionality of the physical body with the way that it processes energy. And, I've come across some information recently, which is sort of causing me to reevaluate, right, the energetic things that I've seen with Earth and the sun and the solar system. And I'll post it on Earth Nouveau. But there's this lady called Ashiana Dean, who is one of the Guardian Alliance people, and talks about, basically like the original intention of the Grail Templar guardians of the Earth systems, and how the body should be functioning, but how the Earth has sort of been like, twisted into a way of functioning that is the way the galaxy is spiral. I mean, there's all this information. I'd love to really have a full discussion, about
Send
some
it
of
to
the
us and
material.
we'll have a chat
Because,
about it.
it's a different, it's a different perspective. It's a different, of course, that information found me at the right place and the right time for, for me to be able to reevaluate the work that I'm doing. Right. So I have a wider perspective.
Yeah. And I love that, because it's a preparation for the next level. And I did, I'm a big fan of asking questions, open-ended questions, just to create awareness. And I always ask, so what can I be and do now that creates the next level of exploration for me? And I just keep it completely open. And when I look at the dots, everything, those synchronicities, because I signed up on this program because of a synchronistic conversation with the person I've met 15 years ago. And before, I think I said that before I went to Turkey, said, let's have a chat. And this is how it's all came together. And then, of course, the next thing is, I booked myself into this medicine journey, which is, what I'm doing right now is the perfect preparation for that. Because the first time I did the medicine journey, I didn't do anything. You're supposed to fast for a week or, or eat certain things. Of course, I didn't do it because, I knew better. No, it was required at the time, but now it is, because I want to go much, much deeper than I've ever gone,
Well, and also with plant medicine, especially with the DMT, and the serotonin inhibitors, the way that they work or don't work does depend upon like the certain foods that you eat beforehand. Like you'll get a stronger experience.
Yeah.
Right. If you can release more DMT.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. That would be good. Look forward to that. And then, of course, what was the other thing? I can't remember.
You think too about how much energy is put into the food that we eat, and like whoever prepared your food growing up and what their energy was, and you taking that in and trying to process it, like how much of that just wasn't a resonance, like a match with you that you couldn't process.
Yeah. Yeah.
Makes me think about the book Like Water for Chocolate. I don't know if you guys have ever read that, but there's a scene in the movie, in the book, where the woman, the lead character, is in love with her sister's, soon to be husband. And as she's making the wedding cake, she's crying and, releasing all of the grief. And then all the guests eat the wedding cake and yeah.
It's not that far-fetched, actually,
Mm-hmm.
Just nobody would make that association, really.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, we're so happy you're married. Yeah.
Do you guys also find, talking about right time, right place, do you find that, obviously we're all going through the separation of density with lots of people disappearing, people we've spent more time with, friends, and we don't even have to do anything, have to say anything. But we also find that of late that, making space for new people to come in. But also I'm finding that all of a sudden I have some of those people coming back. You have a few of those?
I think so.
Yeah.
You know,
And-
people I haven't talked with in a long time are all of a sudden like reaching out or showing back up, you know, or running into them.
I just had the same apart from that. Now I have a few more new people like you guys also in my life. I was wondering actually who's going to fall through, you see. And suddenly there was again a rush of where I received, it's always in these moments where I'm like, I'm going to put down my phone now. I'm going to let it rest for 2 hours because nothing is going to happen. You know, it's all good. I do my things. I go back. And then suddenly I see 5 messages from 5 different people that I haven't talked to in like years, months. Why are you even contacting me? I'm like, okay, what's going on?
Well, do you know what? I had this conversation yesterday with my friend, and I think we've all gone, and COVID was obviously facilitating this. We've all gone through that space of seclusion a little bit, you know, and backing off and introspection and all of that. And as we were talking, and he was, you know, doing the inner healing journey and everything. And, you know, as we were talking, I could perceive, because he's coming through it now and he's coming out again and everything. And I could see this huge portal opening and masses of people waiting for him to be open to receive again. And that's what reminded me, Sandrine, what you were saying. You took your mind off whatever you are working on, and you're a very intense person. And the more intense you are, the more that gets manifested. And people, they can be on the other side of the world. I can't speak to her because I know for some reason, consciously or not, that she doesn't have time for me, right? As soon as you put it down, it's like, yes, portal is opened, whoosh, here we come. And that's the thing. I really do think that there is masses of people wanting to be received, wanting to come in. And you know, funny, the conversation is, well, I'm a bit worried about this now. I don't want all this. I said, no. They don't have to come. You are the portal holder. You're the gatekeeper. You know, let those in that you really feel that it's the right time and the right place to come back. And the others, get out and wait.
Well, and maybe it's also the opportunity to shift what your relationship was into something that's more fulfilling for the both of you.
And that in itself is going to be a challenge. You know, that in itself, because when I see it every time I go back home. Oh, you know, guys, when you go and meet somebody you haven't seen for some time, and you always come there and you're no longer the person that you've been. And that is, especially when you live away from your family and then you come home and, you know, it's like, okay, can they still receive me for who I am now? I am no longer eating the same food. I am no longer wearing the same things. I am no longer, I mean, look, when I go, I always, I know when I go, this is not about me. I just sit there and I listen, because it's never about me. That nobody ever asks me how you doing, which is not bad, because, you know, I couldn't even translate it. It takes me ages to translate a sentence into German, you know, from the work that I'm doing. So it's perfectly happy just to listen. But that has become a real gift to me, to listen. And to see the joy of these people being listened to, that is such a beautiful gift for me now, you know, which of course in the beginning, I mean, every time I went back, and this is, you know, I keep going back to things until I have my conclusion. And there was like, oh, I was angry and I was frustrated and nobody this and this, I can't. And now it's like bliss. Just tell me your problems, your pains, your aches. It's all good. I'm just listening, but I'm no longer taking it on.
Well, I mean, it's funny. I think about like the work that I do and the conversations that we have here, right? And there's probably a handful or, you know, 2 handfuls of people who I can have these type of conversations with, right? It's not like I can go and talk to my parents, right? They're just coming from a different perspective, and they've been more open and more open, like every time I see them. But at the same time, they just are coming from a different contextual perspective, right? And haven't done all the personal healing work, right, that I've done. So, you know, you can't have the same conversations. I mean, the conversations are always good and fun, and I know they love me unconditionally. You know, they're gonna love and care for me no matter what, but you know, they don't understand what the heck I'm talking about, right? If I talk to them, you know, in this way.
Yeah. And there was a time where, you know, speak for myself here, where I needed them to understand. And that caused the frustration, because I was trying to force a match that wasn't there, because I didn't understand. You know, I didn't know what I know now. And also, of course, there was, I mean, I don't think, I was actually looking at this the other day. I was looking at protection and safety. Why do we still need to feel safe? And is that safety that we are perceiving as a contribution, is it really a contribution, or is it a limitation? And then I asked myself a couple of questions, and I cleared a few things. And then I realized that safety is a protection. For, you know, there's lots of different ways to look at it, but for me, it's a protection from rejection. And I thought, wow, there's still a rejection, because rejection has been something, you know, I've been working all my life. And pretty much every single one of us here on this call, and whoever's going to listen, will have rejection issues they are very familiar with. Because when you come in as this half finished avatar already, because we're not young souls, you will be bombarded with expectations and projections from every single corner possible. So rejection is quite interesting. And then, of course, it's that protection against being rejected by other people. And then, you know, so that was interesting, how safety, I mean, usually you'd say, oh, there's sadness because you've got hurt, but sadness is no longer an issue for us people, because we've worked through all this shit, right? So I had to look at something different, because the safety came up, and I'm like, oh, safety is connected to rejection as well, you know? But these are the layers as we keep clearing, you know, those 5 big emotions. And then the layers come in, and all those values, what we call values, the value judgments that actually, you know, just cover up more of those other interesting little hurts and pains. Sandrine, you wanted to say something?
No, it was just the discussion or the listening part becomes very awkward when suddenly your uncle, who's you know, like just cruising on, doing his vacation on cruise ships, tells you about a city where he has been for like 2 hours, which you know for years have lived, tells you about it. So that becomes very, very weird. But
yeah. And then you know what really helps with that? When you bring your inner rebel, if you have an inner rebel, that's perfect. Bring the inner rebel. You know, my inner rebel has gone through so many out creations, and now it's a joker, you know, and now I can say, oh, really? You've been there? That's amazing. So what is it like? It's just
then I'm being told by my mom, like, you did, shut up, you see.
But sometimes you can do that too, but often it's just fun to, and not sarcasm. Sarcasm is still, you know, anger in disguise, but a little bit of play, because, you know, the best thing is it won't even be detected anyway. And they're like, oh my God, she's so interested. like, really, it's a different level of compassion, I think. I don't know. Right place, right time. It has to be the right place and the right time to do that,
No,
right?
that's for sure. That's for sure. But on the safety and the rejection, I mean, we had this discussion when we saw, when we were walking up to the Gourmet, and we saw this boho guy sitting there on the street and selling some bracelets, and you were like, I think this is something that I will need to try. How these people can just, live and do that without any, just traveling without any money or safety or whatever, so
Yeah.
I'm
That's
still
always-
thinking that they are tricksters, but okay.
Yeah. No, I'm still, this is still something that fascinates me, how people can just let go of everything and start something completely new, sell everything and get out there and start from scratch. The scratch wouldn't bother me, but in terms of what I'm doing, that I've done many times, but I don't. But then again, I don't think it's necessary, because I think really we have done this many times over. I mean, I do have I don't know how many bloody lifetimes where I was in a nunnery, had absolutely nothing. But then again, that's safety too, right? Because you're in that space and you got your rules, and so there's definitely something there.
Well, that was a place where women could be relatively autonomous, right? Okay, maybe they were owned by the church and married to Jesus, but at least they didn't, move from their father's hands to their husband's hands. And
but, because I in my primary school we had religious, because we Catholic. I was not in a Catholic school, it was a public school, but we had Catholic courses, 1 hour per week or 2 hours per week. And there were the nuns who were actually giving us the course, the lesson. And I have to tell you, and I also came across through being in the Girl Scouts, where we were staying in some abbeys, where we had then contact with monks, and we talked with these people. And I always admire those people, because actually I believe that they are the funniest, the most open thinkers, the best entertainers, because they are so free, and they don't really, it's like you think that they are so strict, and no, I mean, I had so much fun with these people in many ways, and open discussions, which I probably couldn't even have with my family or some people around, because they were just, yeah, okay, let's discuss this, So that was for me, I admire, okay, there are those that are just very rigid, and, all those monks, and like Irina also said, very, very rigid, and yeah. But yes, they exist, but I do believe that actually they are more free than many people think, because it gives them, this cloistering gives them a lot of safety and a lot of freedom as well.
well, it's almost like a created structure for that.
Well, their basic needs are all met, right? They have no survival needs. And in that kind of environment, like, you're trained to cast desire aside. And so where your energy is spent is in exploration. I mean, it is more in consciousness and discipline and exploration.
That's absolutely beautifully said. That's so perfect, because that's exactly how it is. And this is where, don't beat yourself up if you need safety, because the basic human needs need to be met. It doesn't have to be basic. The human needs, the body needs to feel safe. And I think that's what it really is. Okay, I got this now. So it's the body actually talking to me to feel safe. Yes. Because the body has not felt safe.
That energy of safety, right? We're not sleeping outside anymore, right? Worrying about wolves or lions coming to eat us at night. Well, I mean, some people are. There's a lot of homeless people, certainly in the Bay Area, in San Francisco, right? I can take a walk now that I can walk again. Can take a walk, and doing good. slowly, but healing. Yeah. Walking on my own 2 feet in my own shoes. So that feels good. Yeah. It's like that energy around sleeping out in the wild, in the city where you don't know, if someone's going to come and hurt you or take your stuff, right? If you have any stuff.
Yeah.
But it's a really interesting journey. I think that even just thinking about the safety of going to sleep, right? Sleeping in your own bed and knowing that your doors are closed and no one's going to come but bother you in the middle of the night. Yeah, your dog might wake you up or your husband might snore, but at least a lion's not going to eat you as you're dreaming. Yeah.
And of course, we got to add the whole section of abuse to that. Be this now, I'm not just talking about sexual abuse, but of course, I'm talking about verbal abuse and physical abuse and mental and soul abuse. And that is being reflected in the need of the body to feel safe. Because if you're continuously being told that you're doing the wrong things and you don't know what you're talking about, and it doesn't even have to be physical, that again, rejection. And I think there's the connection. The body actually takes rejection very physically and literal. And this is why, it takes so much time to get a good reading and a good a connection with the body, a communication with the body you can actually trust, because the body doesn't trust you. But I love the other thing as well, Jen, what you said, it's the safety and takes away desire in a good version, in a more advanced version. Because once the desire is gone, once the desire turns into aspiration, then we can talk about true exploration. What can we create now? What can we remember now? What can we acknowledge now? Not because we need it in order to survive, but just because it's fun, just because we want to play with it, just because we are visionaries and we know that there's something else out there and we are the ones to bring it forth and guide it through. That's the same thing with the passion. That once the passion subsides, the window for true love opens up. Not everyone opens that window, but it's there.
Well, a lot of people mistake that passion for true love and true connection too. Exactly. So again, it just goes back to, I think, context of what we're taught and how much we listen and explore, our own journey, or how much we stay within those colored lines. Yeah. I mean, I've never been one to walk within the lines. Yeah. My mother has told me many times I should do this and should, fit in.
No, I don't think any of us are linear walkers here. But, the line, no, but, you've gone back 1,000,000 times and you've gone forward 1,000 times and you've gone to the left and the right and look at the perspective of everything, right? Doesn't mean that, because that's really what this is all about. To take on all the different perspectives and it's actually really fun. This is this work I've done with Metaphors of Movement with Andrew Austin. Super, 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 super powerful. I had clients walk out of the session because it was so powerful. And all we did was, so what does it feel like? What does it look like? You feeling rejected? What does it look like? What are you standing on? Look to your left, look to your right, look to the front. It's amazing how we spatially park all those conditioned like pains and limitations and everything. And then just by taking one step, one conscious step in one direction can change the entire picture. But it can take you in, it can put you in such a discomfort zone. And also then comes, what the hell are you talking about? I paid for a normal coaching session or a healing session. You're talking about fucking walking. Yeah. And all you do, and this is the interesting thing, all you do is you use their words, you use their metaphor. Amazing. And even when you have it done on yourself, we've done it a couple of times on the shows, where we played with this. It's just amazing. And then the picture just keeps changing, because at the end of the day, if you're what's when you look, what's that, when you auditory, visual,
clairvoyant.
yeah, visual. You don't even have to be visual officially. Every memory is contained within us as a picture. It's like that. In addition comes the taste. In addition comes the taste. This is so funny now, because I'm eating so reduced stuff. I'm now smelling everything, ingesting it through the smell. It's like, this chicken smells so good. Oh, that's enough. Thank you.
Well,
So
I think, playing with thought in that way, right, where you're stepping in front of yourself, you're stepping to the side of yourself. Again, right, that really catapults one into nonlinear thinking. And a lot of people aren't at that nonlinear thinking, right, because they've been taught to only think in a certain way, right? They've been trained in school to think in a certain way, trained by the global narrative to think in a certain way. So once that they get out of their comfort zone, it's out of their comfort zone, right? It's pushing new neural pathways in the brain. And that can be really scary for some people.
Yeah. And there's this thing, I mean, you guys know the Eastern philosophies, and there's the saying that you got to do something for 40 days. When I do the Kundalini, sometimes those challenges are doing the same thing for 40 days. And I'm like, okay, I don't think so. And then I thought, okay, this was, I think, 3 years ago. I thought I have to work on my discipline. And I did this one challenge, 40 days, the same thing, super, super tough. And the fight, the battle that you have with yourself to continue doing it, and almost an orgasmic pleasure when you actually manage to do it. And then at the end, it's like, oh, this was amazing, So it's that freedom in the discipline. There's so much freedom in discipline. And I don't, if you would have asked me 2 years ago or a year ago, or probably even beginning of the year, I couldn't have said that. And I'm totally understanding the freedom and discipline now, and the illumination through repetition. And that does not take out linearity. It doesn't put us into a one-dimensional or three-dimensional sort of, because that was always my thing. Oh, no, I'm multi-dimensional. I can't do this. I have to be in 5 different places at the same time. And discipline doesn't allow me that. Now, how wrong was I? Because discipline facilitates that. Only, of course, when the teaching, then when we learned about the avatar, and that we're going to supposedly bring all those part charts and other avatars and I ams into our avatar, or connected, projected into our avatar, working together as a hub of interconnectivity, then all of a sudden makes sense, because you can't be all over the fucking place, if you are supposed to coordinate all of them.
Yeah, discipline's good for that. I'm not very disciplined. Well, I am in some senses, but yeah, I think that repetition is, hard for me. Like, I think about listening and meditation, and how I do sit and listen, but then I also do like walking meditation and swimming meditation, and just that like connection in different ways with the physical body that helps you listen in different ways, right? Like you said, now I can smell. right? Now that your diet has changed, you can smell things differently.
Yeah. I take nutrition in through the smell. Now I'm actually, as we're talking about this, I'm just thinking, discipline, because I say I'm compulsive. Now, isn't that disciplined
It can be.
as well? So, there's so much we don't give ourselves credit for. I mean, if I can sit and write for 10 hours on 2 pages, I mean, that is discipline, no? Anyway, right place. If it's the right place and the right time, then we can do anything that we haven't considered a possibility, right?
Indeed. I think about, I've read Stephen King's book on writing a long time ago, but he tells the story of, he's been a writer since the 70s. And he tells the story of how he was walking home one day, taking his regular walk along, a country road in Maine, and he got hit by a van, right? And he had to have a number of surgeries. They thought he was going to die. And his journey to get back to writing was a very difficult one, right? Where he started writing just 100 words a day because he couldn't sit in the space because his body was still healing. So his wife created a new space for him to, help him do his writing. And so then he would started at 100 words a day, and then he moved it up to 200, and then he'd sit down and write 1,000 words eventually. And then, get up and move and walk around to facilitate his body's healing. But it was really interesting, interesting dialogue on discipline and really what it took for him to go from a physically almost disabled state, right, back into his normal way of living and his normal way of writing. And of course, it was never normal again because that experience fundamentally changed him.
But that in itself is a good example for right time, right place, because, it's not just the positive, officially, consciously, obvious positive sort of impacts that we are creating. I mean, it's like when I had my jet ski accident, I had to have that accident because without that accident, I wouldn't be sitting here today, because I had to completely reevaluate my life after that. So it's these things, and this is what we were saying early on, the destiny and those little contracts that we've contracted out with the people that fished me out the water, and obviously Paul being there at the time. And these are the soul's impulses. And I'm not even saying that, this was, I could have avoided that if I would have looked at certain things beforehand. No, this is all part of it. And we have contracted that out. And that makes me laugh at times. I'm like, really?
I planned this? What?
Planned this?
I mean, I planned tripping on the stairs and fracturing my foot? What?
But that's the thing, to acknowledge that and really see it. Sandra?
Bringing up the bad juju here, but I'm currently in a very good space. I haven't had an injury. I haven't had a pain for quite a while now. I'm keeping up my discipline of my cardio, my yoga, my meditation, my breath work, my digesting, my everything. I'm waiting for the next thing to happen, to go through something, whatever, another lumbago, another breaking my arm, having an accident, or I'm just waiting for it.
No.
Well, maybe instead of something physical, it's going to be something that triggers your mental acuity, your spiritual acuity instead of physical.
No, let's just try and uncreate that thought, Sandra.
No, but it's just like, that's how things went. So I'm okay, good, let's see.
But and there's another way of working now for us, because that's old karmic resolution. Everything that had happened to us is old karmic resolution. And, it keeps on coming, but it gets less and less and less severe, you know, and things like that. And this is where really our focus comes in, where we're now starting to choose the right time and the right place.
And
And
I
this,
would add that through all the things that we've learned how to do now over time, we know that even if something like that comes back up, that's not what we enjoy, everything's going to be okay. You know, like, and that's one piece of peace that I've picked up, is that even when something happens, even when I've injured myself or something, at the end of the day, I may be in discomfort for a few weeks, but everything's going to be fine.
Yeah.
Like, there's really, even at death, it's going to be fine.
and in your case, I remember you were saying you hurt your finger or something. You cut yourself. Was it that? Yeah.
I smashed 2 fingers, like, to the point where, and it was a good thing I got my fingernails to come off so that my new ones could come in. So yeah, they're about halfway grown in.
Yeah. And you were saying at the time that you activated your own healing powers. You remember that. I mean, obviously you are a healer anyway, but you actually started using it yourself. And I think that this is another thing, you know. And I think when we are disciplined and compassionate and compulsive creators, as we all here are, we have to match that compulsion. Let's just use the compulsion in a good way, to how we create. And I think, okay, so to give you an example, not to go on about this bloody diet I'm doing, but you know, all the hairy fairy stuff that I've done, so little bits and pieces, wasn't enough. It didn't match the person that I am. If I do something, I do it 150%. And that's why I needed to do the strictness of it. And this is, you know, so there is this match. Know the energy that you are. And if you are a bit intense, you know, I'm certainly intense, then I have to use that intensity for everything and not judge it, because it's a force of creation. It's a force of creation. And, you know, don't water it down, but do have your space in between where you replenish, and then find a way, you know, also what is the right place and time for you to replenish your energies. Is it when you are with people? Some people need people to replenish their energies. Some people need their solitude. Some people need nature. Some people want a book, you know. So become more and more aware of what is my right time and my right place to do. Yeah, knitting. Yes, love knitting, crocheting, everything, because that's just whatever it is for you. Painting, you know, like Jen does, you know.
Honestly, I like all those things to replenish, and I have to go with whatever mood I'm in, whether I want to be around people or if I want to be by myself in the mountains or sitting out in the sun, reading a book.
Yeah, exactly.
When we were talking about kids earlier, I wanted to say it, but there wasn't a good time to insert it in the conversation. But, you know, vulnerability is really important. And one thing that we didn't mention with childhood that I'm trying to bring back now is play. You know, like, how often as adults do we really just let ourselves play freely, to where, like, we don't care how loud we laugh or that it wasn't really even funny, but we just wanted to laugh because our body decided to do that at that time. Like, play is something really, it's a rejuvenating thing, but there's a different frequency to play.
Yeah.
Well, that frequency of laughter too, you know, it's been really, really fun for me to be here dog sitting, because the puppy is just finding new things and exploring new things. And I've laughed so hard a couple times at just seeing him, right, get startled by something, or, you know, get surprised by something. Like the other day, he was tearing around, and there's a cover on the pool that he can run over because he's small enough, but he uses it almost like traction on a waterbed to kind of bounce. And he was tearing around one day. I actually had the pool open, and he accidentally ran in the pool And I could see the look on his little face as he was like above the water going, oh shit, that cover thing's not on there. And he just like dunked and was so surprised that he ran into and he swam out and he got out fine. You know, and then the other day he's sniffing along the fence, and I think the neighbor dog was standing just waiting for him to get his little nose right there on the other side of the fence. And then the other dog went woof, jumped back about 6 feet, turned around, and his ears were flying and his you know, so that sense of like of laughter and play, right? An animal brings that like fun sense of innocence and play in a way that, you know, as we're like conditioned not to behave that way. Here you've got like an innocent little puppy who's exploring, who that's all they do.
Mhm.
So I think there's a good lesson to take from that also.
It's a big exploration. Fun and play is a big exploration. What does fun and play mean to you? You know, and I love the simplicity of what it can be. You know, and we make it so complicated at times, or you know, make ourselves wrong for not finding certain things playful or fun. I mean, you know, having been a mom, when I was a young mom, and you know, I found all these play games and meeting with other mothers for play days, and it just killed me. It was so boring. I couldn't do it. And then of course I was the outsider mom because I never knew what was going on. And if I did join once, you know, and they were telling me all sorts of things, I had no idea, you know. And Emma, so bad.
In April, I had my godchildren here, and they are 5 and 6, and I mean, every time that I'm with them, I try also then to play, you know, some of the play games that they have, and also some of them that are on, you know, on the iPad or whatever. I have to tell you that I don't know, but they became so difficult.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, what are you supposed? What am I actually supposed to be doing with this thing? Oh, you have to put that, and I'm like, whoa, okay, no.
Not a simple card game anymore.
No, okay, let's just go into the pool. Okay, great.
But that's actually good, because you know you are inviting them to go and play simple, you know.
No, but they know how to play simple. That it was just like, because I wanted to engage with them to also know what they are actually playing on their pads. It was the moment where we actually wanted them to calm down, but I was like, okay, no, that's like no. That's no thing to calm down.
Amazing.
Well, it seems like too, we've become so afraid to make noise. You know what I mean? Like thinking back to my old house, like I love to just go outside and play in the pool with the dogs, but like Bango would bark when he would get excited about the pool, and my ex didn't want the neighbors to hear the dog bark. And I'm like, everybody's dogs bark. Like, this is 5 minutes for them just to have fun. And I think about, like, do you remember Herminia saying that she was at a showing and somebody called the police because they heard kids playing?
Yes, I do.
And it scared, like, that they thought something was wrong, not that they were calling to voice a complaint, they thought something was wrong. But when did we become so afraid to make noise that the sound of laughter and play was an annoyance, and that we cared whether or not it bothered somebody? I mean, I understand it like midnight when people are trying to sleep, but for 20-30 minutes just for people to laugh and play and dogs to have fun, and I don't know. Society needs to pull the stick out of, we all need to pull the stick out of our ass to worry so much about being alive and being present and making noise.
But here it is also something very, so I live in a compound with other people, and on Sunday, one of their friends had the nieces and the kids over. So the pool was filled with kids, and they were screaming and they were laughing and they were having fun. And I actually, because I felt like, well, it's Sunday. And I'm like, why are you saying that to yourself? It's Sunday. Why? You know, I'm like, who am I? You know, the grumpy old lady or what? You know, the kids, they're having fun. They're in the bloody pool. So you cannot go in the pool. You could go, but okay, I didn't want to have the pool with 7 other children. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to close the window. So I closed the window because, and then outside we have the dogs that are in the street and they are barking all the time, you know, so, and everybody's having fun. And I'm like, why did I actually become grumpy? Because it's Sunday and I just want them to calm down. And then suddenly they were also playing the music and the radio was on, and I'm like, you know, it's all good. Just calm the fuck down, you know. And I put on my earphones and I listen to whatever I want to listen to, and it was good, you know. It's okay. Goodness me. But sometimes you have to catch yourself at, you know, thinking like that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And if I would have been downstairs, you know, with the kids, I would have been the one would be screaming with them, you see. So I'm like, you know. But yeah.
Yeah.
Getting back to that school across the street, they get there at 7:30 and they start playing outside in the yard at 7:45, and my bedroom faces that way. So oftentimes the noise is waking me up earlier than I'd choose to wake up on my own. But then it gets me going, and it's nice to hear the laughter.
I have a friend who lives in Australia, and at her backyard, she has a kindergarten actually, you know, at the backyard. And she said it's so funny sometimes when I'm just sitting out in the backyard and I listen to their conversations. She said it's very interesting already for kindergarten.
Yeah. I have to say it's more interesting sometimes to listen to that kind of age group than to, you know, the older species out there, you know, complaining the whole time about
that seed stuck in their tooth or what they had for dinner.
This guy's doing this, and you know, somebody on the road, and
But since, you know, since smartphones or even, you know, mobile phones are a thing, what are people actually talking about all the time on the phone? Can you please tell me? I don't get it.
I'm more, well, I don't know. I'm not an auditory person. So, I mean, I'm here obviously talking, but that because there's a purpose for it. But I'm more of a texter. So I never just phone people up because I've never done that. You know, it's much faster and I can, you know. What do people talk about? Well, trust me, I don't
know the question. I mean, it's just like, you know, I'm amazed at how much time people are spending on the phone and talking. I mean, okay, if you're 12, I understand, you know, but okay, but maybe
I would fully agree with you, because if Paul is away, yeah, there's a text. Everyone's still alive, right? Okay, cool. That's it. Never ever have a conversation with him when he's gone, all those 2 months or whatever. And even if he's here, not. So as I said the other day, him being on the show, it was like, oh, I haven't actually, and especially that kind of conversation. Yeah. It's like, what do you want to eat? Okay, you go to Astor's. I go, no, okay, cool. Yeah, there was a time I made myself wrong for that, you know, because I thought, oh, you know, the usual shit and this is not working. But then you realize that he doesn't even have to open his mouth anymore because I already know what he's saying. He's thinking so much telepathy now, you know.
I'm not, yeah, but then sometimes you're just interpreting things into it. Because I have that with people that I'm talking to as well, and that are then suddenly like, yeah, I know that you would react like that because that is how you always react. And I knew that you were going to say that because that's always what you're saying. And I'm like, but that's actually not what was happening. But, you know, now you're interpreting or you're projecting already things that didn't happen because I was telling a story, you see, and then like.
Yeah, no, you gotta watch out for that. Absolutely. But it's also, you know, I find with friends, some of my friends I've had for a long time, it's only 2 or 3, and I can just for a year we don't speak, eh? And then all of a sudden she's a chicken in Australia, Austrian chicken Australia, and we haven't spoken for 2 years because I just knew there was nothing to say at the time. Of course, we could have said something, but it wasn't required. And then when I do speak to her, I speak about for 2 hours. And then, yeah, I can tell you what we speak about, because there's a lot to catch up on. So you say what you've done, you know, but it's constructive kind of thing. It's basically just saying what you've done with your life in the last 2 years, you know, that kind of thing. But no, I'm not one of those continuously talking either. Believe it or not, I can't shut up when I'm on this thing. Because I actually enjoy listening. I thought when I was in company, I love just sitting there listening. Because, you know, obviously this is part of the mediation that I do, you know. We're all mediators in some way, and, you know, yeah. And I think, you know, as Jen was, you know, mentioning that desire thing, as that desire dissipates and you go more specifically into creation, you're really choosing who you speak to more and better, because you really need specific contributions, you know, that kind of thing, I would think. So right time, right place. And I think what we said early on, yeah, destiny, whatever is destined, people keep coming back exactly at the right time for you to. This was actually one of the situations we've had here. You know, Paul had a friend come over, and they hadn't seen each other for a long time, and they talking about army stories and had really good fun, laughing, and Paul needed some information for another project, and he just mentioned it to the guy, and was exactly the perfect connection, you know. And they started creating a new project together now, and that's what made him think, so how does this happen, you know, why did he come now? Is obviously that is part of the contractual, I would say, when stuff like that so out of the blue happens, right? I mean, we meet every week, so we have little nuggets that come out and can be used or not, you know, because we are actually consciously creating a situation where we are bringing those right places and right spaces together. And I think that's the invitation for anyone who watches this, and for us to create more of those coincidences, not waiting for the synchronicities. So let's do a little exercise before we close up. What are we doing? Okay, let's do a little exercise. You can close your eyes or keep it open, do whatever you want. Let's just see what we can do here. Just take a couple of breaths here. Just make maybe the out breath a bit longer than the in breath. Draw that navel back towards the spine to really, really connect with that body of yours. Stay completely present. You're not having to leave the body in order to do certain meditations or exercises. Stay connected. And then maybe what we're going to do is I'm going to take you up. I'm going to take you up into slightly higher dimensions here. Let's just play with that. So let's say we've been in 5 here. So I want you to just breathe. Don't have to do anything. And we're just gonna go up a level into the 6th dimension now. Just allow your frequencies to rise nice and gradually. The spark to get a bit brighter. Then we're going to go further up into the 7th dimension. We're going to expand that vibration a little bit, the length of the vibration, make it longer, more smoother, up into the 8th. You may or may not feel the body reacting with a bit of tingling or change in breath or anything as we're moving into the 9th dimension. I'm going to bring that harmony in from our signature frequency, just harmonizing with all those dimensional layers and realms. Nothing to see, nothing to do, other just being that channel that you truly are. Further up into the 10th. And just realize how easy it is going up into the 11th. And just settling nicely into the 12th dimension there. Just getting a sense of that. And just turn around for a second and just look back, seeing all those dimensions. And we're just going to play with them lay them out on that linear line. I want you to just have a bit of fun with that now. Stepping into that shape-shifting capacity that you have, changing frequencies at will, jumping into the 6th dimension from the 12th, back into the 8th, into the 3rd, back into the 9th, into the 7th, back into the 5th. And then I want you to just settle in whichever one, or overlayer them if you wish, and then just spread out without making any distinction between dimensions anymore. Just settle with your signature frequency, connecting to the cosmos, and at the same time connecting subsurface to the inner earth, to our hub of interconnectivity in our Earth Nouveau embassy. And from there, take your intention back to time and space. Acknowledge that you're playing and experiencing and creating within that consciousness that allows you to use the concept of time, to use the perception of space, knowing full well it's all a hologram really, but who cares? Feels right, it feels good, it feels joyful, it feels happy, it feels like fun. Now I want you to go out 5 years into your future. And take a couple of those fun, joy, happy, healthy seeds and plant them into the soil, into the earth. Those seeds will grow into synchronicities, will grow into so-called coincidences for you to harvest, or for you to experience, for you to acknowledge in 5 years' time. Now go into 10 years time. And again, plant some seeds there. Joy, happiness, health, abundance, playfulness. And those seeds, they are starting already to sprout. It's amazing how quickly it goes. And then I want you to go into 15 years and keep going whilst I get my battery charger. Keep going and plant those seeds of joy. Good, and if you haven't arrived at 100 years into your future, then jump all the way right there. And again, plant those seeds. And add some more seeds that we haven't mentioned here. You don't even need to know. Joyful living, joyful dying, joyful celestial mediumship, playing as universal citizens, roaming of other worlds, other planets. And once you have put those seeds in, I want you to just come back very, very slowly. And as you do that, you realize that everything has already been planted, has already been put into that soil. And all you're doing now is just observing it, acknowledging it on the way back, bringing it into your attention, into your perception. And then just acknowledge what it does to your body. It might not be your body at the time, this body, whichever time frame you perceive yourself to be, but it doesn't matter. Right time, there's always, time is always right. The place is always right, wherever you are. And with all those imprints, imaginations, visions, visualizations, perceptions, come back and then settle back your attention into this room, fully grounded in your body. And just perceive, before you open up your eyes, perceive that sense of calmness within yourself. And in fact, we're not done yet. There's something else we need to do. I want you to take that calmness into your heart space and perceive it as a radiant white light. And then as the channel that you are, the mediator that you are, the cosmic connector that you are, I want you to take that light from your heart space and just allow it to radiate out all the way, this earth, galaxy, universe, other galaxies, other universes, solar systems. To the back, to the front, up, down your body. And at the same time, perceive universal energy coming back to you, receiving all your trickles of radiant white light and responding to you with gratitude for the magic that you truly be. Good. Back into our little pods here. Open your eyes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Right time, right place.
I love the perspective of casting those seeds of joy into the future, into your future bubble of reality, and then just walking there.
Okay, my darlings, on that note, we're going to call it an evening for me.
Thank you.
You guys, love you. Mwah. And I
Love
see
you. Thank you.
Yeah. Take
You
care.
too.
Enjoy your week.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.